Hello everybody, this is my 54th review of films that come out in 2025, and today we are talking about Twinless. I said in the last video we were going to talk about highest to lowest today. Not going to happen, we'll talk about that tomorrow. Again, today we're talking about Twinless, which is written, directed, and produced by James Sweeney. He is also the star of the film alongside Dylan O'Brien. There will be no spoilers in the first half of this review, but I will talk about some minor spoilers in the second half, but I'll give a warning before I get into those. Would I recommend Twinless? No. I did not like this movie. Why don't I stay positive, go into what I liked about this film first, and then get into what I didn't like about it? My favorite thing about this movie is actually the score. I thought it was really great and really appropriately used. It had a really cool synthy sound, and after the movie I found out that it was done by the same guy who's done the score for a lot of Korean media. A lot of the most famous Korean television shows and movies, actually. He did a bunch of Bong Joon-ho's movies and Squid Game. And I also thought it was, for the most part, a pretty well-directed movie. There's some really cool moments, especially involving cinematography. There's a shot involving mirrors that I thought was pretty cool. A few scenes were done with the frame split down the middle, and having two shots go on simultaneously. I thought that was pretty cool. I just really love creative filmmaking like that, always. Even if in this movie I thought it was kind of pointless and a little unfitting for the scene. But again, it's really well directed. One of these sequences has a matching beginning and end, which I thought was cool. Also, there's one of these sequences where it's over a phone call, and the audio of the scene goes from normal audio to the phone's audio. It's pretty strange and jarring and pointless, but it's kind of a cool creative decision. I really liked the colorful lighting in this movie. I think in general the movie is lit really well, but the color palette of the film as a whole is unappealing to me because of the color grading. The blacks are just kind of crushed in the darker scenes, and the shadows look like they've been cranked way too far. I think this movie could have looked really great, and there are a few scenes that do look really great, but overall the color palette is just too dark. I've seen other film related channels be sponsored by this thing where it's like a poster of the entire color palette of the movie, like it merges all the shots together. And I think if that concept were done for this movie, it would just be black with some dark blues and yellows. It's kind of an ugly color palette overall, even if there was some really good lighting. The leading performances were quite good, I thought, especially the guy who played two characters. I also thought the mom in the movie was pretty good, and there's a lady who I think ran the therapy group, who I thought was pretty funny. But that's about it for me. I really didn't like much else about this movie. Although it mixes genres, it's primarily a comedy, and it's basically never funny to me. I think I smiled twice at jokes throughout the movie, and considering how many jokes there are in this film, there are just so many misfires for me. And considering this is a comedy, I think that's going to be the main appeal for most people. A lot of people in the theater I saw this in thought it was funny for sure. There was a lot of laughs I heard, but for me personally, I find it really hard to find situational comedy funny if none of the characters act like real people. Like maybe in like an absurdist skit or something. Like if this were an 8-minute skit or like a 12-minute skit on YouTube or SNL or something, I think it would have been awesome. But as a feature film, it did not work for me in the comedy department, and it's really riding on that. I also think part of why the comedy doesn't work for me in this movie is the tone. There is a lot of tonal whiplash in this movie, and the comedy doesn't work because of it, and the serious scenes especially do not work because of this. There's absurd concepts or just scenes that are played for jokes in this movie that are then abruptly cut to scenes where they take it completely seriously, and they expect you to take it seriously as a viewer, and I was just thinking to myself, like, what is the idea here? I thought tonally, this movie was a total mess. It's kind of like if you mix complementary colors like yellow and purple or red and green, it just becomes this like gray or brown blob. Like this movie will really lean into the comedy in one scene in an absurdist way, and then take the serious stuff really seriously so quickly together, it's like jump cut against each other, and it just made me feel nothing. I couldn't enjoy either element at all. They totally cancel each other out. And like, the entire story of the movie is also just so uninteresting to me. I'll talk about this more when I get into spoilers, but it's just really unengaging and tropey. The two main characters are kind of interesting, and again, the two leading actors I thought did a pretty good job, but they're not well developed and they don't feel like real people at all, and they're incredibly unlikable throughout the entire film. And then basically every other character in this movie, every single supporting character, is just so clearly there for a specific purpose, either a gag or to cause conflict in the movie. And they also feel incredibly flat, and even more so than the main two, they just do not act like real people. And I think part of that is because of the scripts, but I also think part of it is the acting. Like, I just really wasn't being sold on basically a single other character than the main two. Locations are reused in a way that makes the movie pretty visually boring, I'd say, and most of the locations are just like grocery stores or office rooms or like conference rooms or hotel rooms. They're just really bland locations, and the production design isn't interesting as well. Let's get into spoilers, so spoilers from here on out. The main two conflicts in this movie are just total tropes that are really overused. Really, the meat of the movie is like the somebody gets a girlfriend, and then, you know, their friend is a third wheel, and they get jealous, and they get angry. And then they also do a trope which I hate even more, which is like, someone tells a really big lie to their friend, and then the rest of the movie is just you waiting for the moment where they find out that it was a lie, but the movie teases you constantly of like, oh, are they gonna find out? Oh, are they gonna find out? No, it's gonna happen later. They didn't find out. Oh, are they gonna find out again? Nope. And then even in the final scene where the reveal happens and the lie is exposed, it's just so underwhelming. I will say though, the very ending of this movie, like the last like 30 seconds or something, does have the one and only moment that worked for me dramatically. I guess that's worth something. I guess the movie does end on a good note for me, but it's still not a satisfying experience. It reminded me a bit of Sorry Baby, which is another movie I talked about this year that I was underwhelmed by. They both have very Sundance-y dialogue. The supporting cast in both of these films just feel like they exist for obvious reasons, for gags or plot devices, and both have a lot of misfires of comedy for me. Both have underwhelming endings, and I think I'm in the minority for not liking both of these films. However, I thought this movie was pretty significantly worse than that one. With Sorry Baby, I kind of liked the movie for the first half, but during the second half, I really got disappointed, whereas with this movie, I really didn't enjoy it from start to end. Yeah. I'm gonna give this 2 stars out of 5. Tomorrow I'll make my review for highest to lowest, so subscribe to see that. In the description, I'll put a link to my Letterboxd list ranking all the movies I've seen in 2025 so far. Here's the ranking so far, and there's where Twinless is placed right there, and there are the rest of the films I've seen this year. There should also be a link to the YouTube playlist of all my 2025 film reviews in the description. You can also find that on my channel page and right here on the left side of your screen. Thank you for watching. Likes and comments are very much appreciated. They help give me a boost in the algorithm. That's all I gotta say. See ya.